So I think one of the trickiest parts of designing, especially today with AI, is trying to understand less is more. How much is too much? I always say, automation, the challenge really with AI isn't its intelligence, it's like a vibe, because when AI shows up in a product, and I'm going to be like, if AI disappeared tomorrow, could this user still do this job? And if the answer is no, you've probably definitely gone a little too far on the autopilot.
Welcome to the Why Involved podcast, an initiative by Y Technologies where we spotlight bold voices shaping the future of tech. This episode is a part of our Women in Tech series, celebrating women who are redefining innovation through leadership, design, and impact. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Nitya Subramaniam, a powerhouse in product design who's making AI and enterprise workflows feel more human, one intuitive experience at a time. At Clarity, she leads the charge in transforming complex, data-heavy systems into clear and elegant user journeys. With a career spanning fan engagement and game day experiences at events like Super Bowl and MLS MLB drafts, governance and compliance tech, finance, risk management, and now AI-first platforms, Nitya blends design intuition with business impact. She's not just a leader in product design, she's a change maker inspiring more inclusive, intelligent, and user-centered future. Let's dive into her journey, her design philosophy, and how she's shaping what's coming next. To start off with, we do know that AI is here and how, and because it's such a powerful tool, it does seem cold and confusing sometimes to the users, right? So, how do we approach in making AI feel more human and usable through product design?
Good question. I think one thing everyone should remember, whether you're product engineering or any team, you need to make sure that AI is not a stranger with a clipboard. It needs to feel like an actual teammate or a colleague per se, who's always got your back, whether it's on a product team or an engineering team where it's just supporting. The challenge really with AI isn't its intelligence, it's like a vibe, because when AI shows up in a product and feels a little cryptic or bossy in a way, almost like it's operating in a vacuum, users start to disengage, because it's very easy to see it as an outsider in a meeting or an outsider that's trying to engage with you. So the way I look at it is, my North Star is always, does this AI feel like helpful to me, or is it like that overconfident intern on a team that has no context and trying to be part of it? So one way, what I do is I try to bring a level of human touch back to the design, and I think out loud. I try to think, instead of just saying, here's your next task, it might say something like, since this came up in your last project and it's due soon, this might be the good next move to make. So that simple shift of command and context makes a huge difference, because it builds a level of trust between me and this potential second teammate and makes the system feel more collaborative than controlling. And I guess one more thing I've learned with time is this is what I like to call a soft landing. AI is very probabilistic. So it is going to get things wrong. So instead of trying to make it perfect and flawless, I like to design graceful recovery. Okay, if you're going to give me a wrong answer, it's okay. Just feel free. I should be able to say, nope, that's not right. Can you tweak output easily? Or the goal isn't perfection here. The goal really is, it's preserving that user's sense of control almost. So I think most users don't want AI to come in and dazzle them and give them a show, like a Met Gala, but they just want something that's going to feel quietly competent but helpful at the same time, instead of being that loud and intelligent but yet humble person. They want that.
Right. As designers, the way we are thinking of the persona of our users, now we also have to think of the persona of the AI system that we're designing.
Yeah, and it's almost like treating it like an actual teammate, right? Because there is a level of reliance that we all have now, whether it's design teams or, product leaders or engineers, or even like people who aren't necessarily like, sales folks. They use AI a certain way. So I think one that shows up more like an AI that's going to show up more like a trusted colleague and a less know-it-all kind of thing will automatically
Yeah.
develop that level of people skill, which honestly AIs, they tend to not have, like, unless you look for it. Like, it's very invisible. So you need to look for that people skill that AI is trying to have. And most AIs today, like I use ChatGPT, I use a bunch of tools on my day-to-day, and all of them I can see are, I guess it's a learning thing where it's learning. And I guess like people who are building these tools also are learning to make sure that human touch is not lost.
Yeah, yeah. And like you do understand how the AI's persona is also shifting the way you talk to it. So that is also pretty interesting to gauge.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would think you're a designer too, so I guess like you sort of understand the importance of that empathy. So yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, and this is also where women in tech, that aspect also comes in, where us thinking about empathy and inclusion and designing systems based on that, and considering now that AI is such a, how do you say, something which is definitely knowledgeable and something which will make it more into a structured way. How do you add empathy and inclusion to that now? So that is definitely.
Definitely, I agree. Yeah. And I think it's very easy to forget that with so much technology and so much influence of this AI around us. So I think like that's the it factor that we bring to something today.
Yeah.
Like not just delivering something that, you spend hours and weeks designing. It's more about now accuracy, efficiency, contingency. Are you making a guardrail plan? Like all of those
Yeah.
things are also coming. So our roles are also very different today.
Yeah. When designing for AI systems, how would you draw the line between automation and user controls? So how would you decide what to show, what to hide, and what the AI explains?
Oh, I love this question because I'm like very passionate about like what should be invisible to the user. But, just because something can be automated doesn't mean you should. And that's the real trick in like adopting AI and making it part of your workflows, is knowing when to actually step back and actually let the human drive at that point. So I think one of the trickiest parts of designing, especially today with AI, is trying to understand less is more. Like, how much is too much? I always say like, automation will 100% reduce like effort, but it's not going to reduce agency. So when I am designing, I ask like, this is a moment of clarity, or is it a moment of convenience? And if it's something going to be repetitive in my workflow, or even in a user's workflow, something users are slogging through every day, it's great to automate it. Why not? But if it's a moment where it's like nuance related, or something that requires like a personal judgment to be made, or there is risk, any kind of risk involved, that's where I try to make sure I pull back a little and question those things, because that's where AI can assist, but it should never override. So now, like, when it comes to like, what do I show versus what do I hide? What do I explain? I don't want to believe that, flooding the user with a model of confidence or confidence scores or any raw system logic. I don't feel that's necessary. But I think, and this I feel very strongly about, because you can be very transparent and dump a ton of data, right? But that just means it means it's surfacing just enough context so that the user feels that confidence. But something like this was suggested based on your last 3 actions. And then, if they want to go deeper, they can. Like, give them the option, right? Like, instead of being, hey, this is the path, this is the automated answer, pick this. And here's the thing, like, there's that line between automation and control, and it's not a line that's static and fixed. It's going to keep drifting, and that depends on a level of users' trust or the stakes involved, or even their mood in that manner, right? Like sometimes I'm just going to ChatGPT to ask, like, give me all this deep research right now, versus this is what I think it should be, but these are my guardrails. Give me a guardrail, give me a fallback, and the AI can then drive and sure, but the user should always feel like they can, of course, grab the wheel and be like, okay, no, wait, I'm going to steer you another way. So I think
Right.
there's a sweet spot. You don't want to cross it.
Yeah. And also, like, if you think about it, it's much better to interact with the AI when we think that it's also understanding nuance. I
100%.
mean, if it is just like throwing data points at me, then it is, I'll just, rather Google something.
100%. And honestly, like, think about it like a couple of years ago, right? Like, and this is what I try to ask myself. And if I have a team, this is what I'm going to ask my team. I'm going to be like,
Mhm.
if AI disappeared tomorrow, could this user still do this job? And if the answer is no, you've probably definitely gone a little too far on the autopilot. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a silly question to ask, but there is so much truth involved in it, because that's when you know that the empathy also got lost in that feature.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, if the user is losing the agency, then what is the point? We don't want AI-driven systems in the sense of AI-driven systems. They're
That's
still user-driven systems, just
exactly.
helped with AI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, at Clarity, right now, you're working at the intersection of AI and super complex enterprise workflows, right? So, what are some key design principles or lessons that you have learned when shaping AI-driven user experiences in these high-stakes environment?
Great question. I think, like, when, in any, and this is not just Clarity, even in my previous workplace, it was high stakes. Like, we were designing software for high stakes, right? I don't think flashy AI is going to impress anyone at that point. But reliable AI will definitely impress somebody. And I think designing AI for something that's extremely complex, especially for an enterprise customer who is, compliance heavy, or it's a compliance heavy space that you're designing in, or it needs to teach users very quickly. Trust is going to be everything. So it's not just that you're going to be building for something that's going to be super speedy and you're going to deliver it, or it's going to be super convenient. You're designing for auditability. You're designing for that peace of mind to know that, okay, this is accurate. Like, you're giving me something to work with that I can trust. And even if something goes wrong, it's not just a usability issue at that point. It could have that legal, financial, reputational consequence. So I think with AI, there's this notion of like, oh, it can do everything for me. But there's this notion of predictability over surprise, right? And that much it's a principle I live by, because predictability over surprise means it doesn't need to impress me at this point. It needs to be dependable. So the user should know what to expect and why that system is doing what it's doing. So that reliability actually builds that trust and fosters it. So any smart feature can do a bunch of things, but I guess knowing that context is your king, context is everything, and that one size fits all, it's not going to do that.
Doesn't.
Like,
Yeah.
that one size is never going to fit. So I like to
Yeah.
design those layers of explanation, whether it's like a quick prompt of sorts, or like, for power users, you want to give a little amount of guidance as to why that path why am I doing, or why am I choosing this path for folks? Like, is it reassurance? Is it to build confidence? Is it to guide them a certain way? It's more it's for them to work side by side, right? So it's anything that's
Correct.
over-engineered intelligence, the smartest AI, like, it needs to still pause and ask. And if it doesn't do
Yeah.
that, it's like, it's
That's a
already
problem.
engaged people. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, speaking about trust, there are industries such as finance and healthcare, which is where trust is absolutely non-negotiable. So, for these particular industries, how would AI actually, how would the designers, us as designers, make certain decisions, be it small decisions or large decisions, to make or break that trust?
See, like, trust isn't going to be something that's a grand gesture that comes up. It needs to be built through very micro moments. So whether, and AI can actually either earns it or it erodes it, because that one tiny decision it makes at a time can actually make or break. So yeah, in finance and health tech, like it's already a very high stakes space. So users aren't just looking for help, like they're looking for confidence that what you're doing, what you're recommending, or what insights you're giving me or sorts is not like wild west. Like you're giving me something that I can trust. And it comes to, those tiny design decisions at that point. So take language. Like for example, if I say AI recommends, it, that can feel like a very black box answer, because the algorithm almost comes across as someone who's guessing. But if the AI had said, we suggest based on your recent inputs in the past, or your recent searches in the past, or your last few questions, it suddenly feels like it was a thoughtful assistant versus someone who just didn't like whip it out. So who's actually been paying attention? You're looking for the AI. Were you listening to my last few questions? That shift in tone will instantly build a lot of credibility. So, and I guess like this is another big one where, like if you're explaining something uncertain, users don't expect AI to be perfect. We know, we just need honesty. So saying like we are 70% confident that this is relevant for you, or maybe you are looking for this as an answer, I just want to confirm before I proceed, does more to build trust than pretending like the system is just going to whip it out and tell you everything and it knows its answers, because that false precision is always going to keep hurting and erode that trust. So there's these micro things that we do in design, like even before AI came, right? Like a loading state. The fact that things are happening at the back end is building something for you. It's building an insights dashboard. It's building values of some sort. It's doing some analysis at the back. But that simple loading state, or a spinner that tells me that okay, it's not just a blank screen that's gone kaput and paused. This is like pre-AI. So it's not like we didn't do it. It's just how we do it today is modified, and it's a modification that I won't complain about. It's great.
But yeah, like speaking about that, usually we have like this heuristic evaluation of how we audit certain applications with, let's say, the Nielsen-Norman principles, right? Where the system status is one of the main things. And now that AI has come into the picture, it is something sort of like a, how do you say, like a genie that is in a bottle, and now suddenly we have that in front of us. So how do you actually see these particular heuristic evaluations changing when it comes to AI?
See, like, and I, huge believer of all of those norms that we follow, okay? But I think the way we're going to adopt those rules and regulations that we followed in design, it's going to modify. It's going to need context. It's going to need clarity. It's going to need control. It's going to need all of these other little factors to curate, to actually extract what those rules could give designers. So yeah, designers won't in the future just shape screens. We'll be shaping that behavior. We'll be shaping the decision. We'll be shaping the trust that's involved in those invisible systems. So I think we're already seeing that absolute major shift in product design where, you're not crafting those interfaces. You are almost shaping them with interfaces that are intelligent, and the AI becomes that embedded thing which is in your everyday tool now, because designers aren't just deciding how those things are going to look. Where's this button going to go? We are actually now asking, what should the AI do here? What should it act like? When should it be quiet? We've moved away from this idea of like, hey, we're just going to create these layout decisions and we're going to do this logic decision. That's just not what we do today. And in a way, we are becoming those, think of it like a language translator, right? Like there's these people in the room. There's some people who speak English, some people speak Hindi, some people speak Chinese. We're all speaking different languages. AI is that translator. We are just using it as that bridge between what, a model can do and what a human expects it to do. So that means of understanding things like, confidence threshold or an intent modeling, or even like ethical defaults, right? Like turning that into an experience that feels seamless but respectful and intuitive. That's going to be a huge shift, and designers are now going to be responsible for that because, we need to now explain. We need to now say that, okay, this is the trust in the system. This is how we create trust in the system. It's not going to be enough for like, oh, AI, our LLM models work great. We're just going to give you the
Yeah.
answer. That means nothing to a user. The user needs to
Yeah.
know why that was the answer, why that answer
Right.
showed up. How is it? How is it a better answer than what I would have done?
Yeah.
And I think that narrative, that kind of narrative design, or even an interaction pattern, like it works a lot with behavioral psychology, which is why I always and I've worked with team members, who used to be psychologists before they became user designers or like user researchers, and
Mhm.
they bring a perspective to the table that blows my mind every time. And I'm like, okay, this is what we should be teaching in like design school. Like,
Yeah.
like this is like foundational. Like,
Yeah.
people who don't study a chapter, like a class for this, I'm like, wait, you're missing a little something. Go talk to a psychologist. Like, prompting
Yeah.
is like that because prompting is now becoming, and I prompt all the time. Like, I even built a little Promptil app, which helps me
Oh, interesting.
to now, improve my prompting. So
Mhm.
it's become core. It's become a core design skill. So whether it's going to be text or voice or even something that's invisible and ambient, the way
Mhm.
we talk to AI for what we need, how we frame it, how we constrain it, all of that's going to be that new interface design layer. So it's not just all these thumb rules that we followed all this while, right? Like all these thumb rules exist. It's how
Mhm.
we're going to let AI work with it. And
Yeah.
if we also forget these rules, it's going to hurt us because that makes us lose this empathy. But
Mhm.
we work with it simultaneously, none of us are going to, we're going to be like current. We're going to be solving today's problem and even the future
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And the problems which are continuously going to be evolving as well.
Percent. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So now that speaking about problems evolving, how do you also see the role of product designers evolving along with these AI tools, and once these AI tools become more embedded in our everyday lives?
Oh, 100%. Like I said, like for me, AI is going to be used as a translator. I'm not going to use it to replace my everyday work. Does it replace?
Mhm.
Actually, that let me correct my statement. I am using it to replace my everyday work that doesn't involve my that is slowing me down to be efficient. It does replace it, but does it
Mhm.
replace the work I do for requires my critical thinking? Not always. Do I lean on it? 100%. Does it
Cool.
curate that narrative for me? 100%. But understanding what that user, that psychology of the user, that's something it will not always have enough to help me with. So that's where like knowing what you ask of the AI, or
Mhm.
what constraint are you putting to the AI, is going to be key. Because if I just told AI, hey, listen, can you design me a PRD for, write me a PRD for such and such feature, and I put no constraints on him, and it just goes out, does its thing, comes back and tells me that, okay, I'm going to put these are my assumptions, so this is what I'm going to build for you. But it makes those assumptions without my almost consent at that point, right? It made
Yeah.
certain assumptions without me putting those guardrails in place. I think that's what design is going to be in the future, looking beyond just that one static, like not static, but whatever, that interface that you're designing.
Mhm.
It's going to need to think about all those unexpected steps or unexpected edge cases. And sometimes AI will surface it because I didn't put any guardrails to it. AI went and did its own thing. It just came
Yeah.
back and gave me answers that were free to, like, it did its own thing. So,
Yeah.
but in that process, it did expose the fact that, oh, by the way, because I made these assumptions, I noticed this is an edge case. And Claude does this beautifully. Like, it will tell you
Mhm.
that, okay, such and such is an edge case. I noticed you didn't mention it, but I think you should think about it. And
Yeah.
that's the part I love about Claude, because it's subtle. It doesn't force me into like incorporating or thinking about it, but it definitely surfaces it. So I think even if the human has missed things, there is a way to leverage the fact that you have this other teammate, especially on
Yeah.
small, like in small teams. There's only so much one will see
Yeah.
until it's user tested.
Yeah.
Using AI strategically to actually expose those potential edge cases that are coming your way, I think that's a so powerful way to think about it. And
Yeah,
designers
definitely. And
have to get on board for that.
definitely. I mean, having somebody to collaborate with which has the ability to scrape the web and come up with almost anything and everything that you can ask for is definitely a superpower that we should use.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So, speaking about architecture, you mentioned that you were an architect before this. So, in Triple Take, which is your newsletter, which is super interesting, by the way, you have mentioned that architecture is essentially designing spaces, like real world spaces that seem seamless. And when you actually go to buildings which you can get a feel of how this has been designed in a really intuitive and beautiful way. So,
Right.
considering, like, till now, of course, as user experience designers, we have been designing digital experiences in that way. Um, and right now, you also mentioned that we need to understand how AI can be embedded in strategic points to actually help us, and where the AI actually needs to reel back. So, I would really love for you to elaborate a bit on that and how your experience as an architect can also help in designing for such scenarios.
So and this I'll give you a little backstory. The reason I only thought of making that shift was there's this notion of permanence, right? When you build a building, you have like, okay, you're pouring concrete, this foundation. So there's like a little bit of a change, there's a little bit of moves you can make to make modifications. And you really never know truly how that space is going to be. Like there's so many tools out there. So we do like a lot of AR walkthroughs, VR walkthroughs, we do all of these things. We do 3D modeling, we do all of that. But like actually, it's like how you hold a device and you're like, oh, now I'm using this software. Now I'm using this app. For architecture, there's no testing ground. Like I can't be like, hey, like I'm going to touch this wall and I'm going to be like, oh, it didn't behave. That did not feel like it should. Like there's so much permanence in architecture, which is the only difference that I see between that and product. In product, the difference is like AI and intelligence can easily be embedded, right? Here, AI and intelligence is going to be in producing. It's going to be in production. It's going to be in all of that. You can use smart intelligence and like lights. And when I walk in, or if it's nighttime, like make sure you curate white light inside of it. You can do things like that. But the difference really is there's little room to make adjustments in that physical space versus in something that's, like where you can just go in and make changes. And that's what honestly excited me even when I moved as a designer, because I love the fact that nothing was permanent in product. I could just go in and be like, okay, this is good feedback for me. I'm going to go back and I'm going to rethink such and such experience, and I'm going to come back to the table with better solutioning. In architecture, I always felt like that was one of my hardest things to make peace with. Like, I was like, oh, I wish I had done something differently. Oh, I thought about this particular step differently. And that layer of interface where, something cannot be modified because it's so constrained versus something here which is malleable. I can go back, make adjustments, make it adapt for the next user because I've learned some more facts about it. Here, I have to wait a couple of years to be able to afford to do that. So,
no user testing, no iterative workflows.
No iterative workflows, exactly. And I think AI in general, like anything intelligent, it's like a superpower, right? Like it gives you a way to do all this so quickly. And and maybe in the future, like even in spatial design, it'll change. Like who knows? Like there may be things that are happening that I'm not aware of, but I'm excited to see how all of this is going to change just in design. That's exactly why I thought about all of them, because even though there's things that I know it's harder to keep up with in product when you look at art. And I mean, art technically can keep up with product, but architecture, I
Yeah.
still write about it because it definitely, there's a level of psychology of a user that you need to know in all these respects, right?
Yeah.
And I always consider, I like to hone that skill and be like, I may not have gone to a traditional product school, but what I learned in architecture school makes me, like, that skill of empathizing with the user is huge when I'm doing product work. So I think it's definitely going to get there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. It was super interesting to speak about all of this. Thank you so much. Like, I definitely learned a lot more, and a few of the words that I'm definitely going to Google or ChatGPT probably later after this. I would definitely request you to give your thoughts on aspiring product designers out there and what they should look out for, what they should learn, what they should explore. Your thoughts, please.
So the one thing, and I tell myself this, I like practice as you preach. So it's something I tell myself as well. I know a lot of people always feel like all of these AI tools is coming to like take our jobs, replace us and all of that. One thing to understand, that's not the purpose of developing tools like this. The purpose is to make your lives easier, efficient, and not be scared to use a tool, right? Because there is an level of intimidation. Like for me, I relied heavily on ChatGPT, I relied heavily on Claude, but Perplexity took me a little while. But now
Mhm.
Perplexity gives me a sense of value that, wow, Claude and ChatGPT can't give it to me. So I think like embracing these tools is one, like don't feel scared to pick up a tool. If you even want to just try it, there is so many tools out there beyond even ChatGPT and Claude. There is tons of tools. Like for designing, I use like plugins and AI plugins within Figma because it is boosting my accuracy. Even if it's a matter of changing like image PNGs into like vectors. Like I'm using
Yeah.
plugins that are going to automate all of that work for me. I'm not sitting and drawing over that PNG any point of time right now, My time is better spent elsewhere. So I think like as designers, we just need to realize none of this coming our way is something for us to walk away from, but we need to walk alongside with. And to be honest, the sooner we get to a point where we are comfortable walking along with it, that's where you're at a point of success already, because it's not here to come and replace you and take your spot in a seat. It's here to be with you on that seat. And the fact that you're making your life and your work, like mundane tasks that you do so much more faster and quicker, you're having the time to spend on things that require human touch, that require human empathy, that require human interference. So versus you having to spend so little time over there because you're doing all of these mundane things that
Yeah.
could be automated. So I think automation, accepting the fact that automation is here to stay, is one thing, and not being worried about replacing a tool. Today, if I feel like using ChatGPT, use it, but tomorrow I may just rely on Perplexity. I have no fear of being like, hey, listen, I am very comfortable, I'm going to be only in ChatGPT world. That's just not how it works. I think there are things other tools gives you, and being open to exploring that is going to give everyone an edge.
Definitely. Yes. So, Nitya, if you would like to tell us how it was being a part of the Why Involve community, especially women in tech, and your experience on the Why Involve podcast.
Like in around us, especially in California, there is so much women in tech. It's spoken of all the time, and I love being part of those communities. So finding a community outside of California and being able to be part of that, I think that's kind of amazing, because I also grew up in Bombay, which is not very far from you guys. So, and for me, it's like, I think it's nice to be part of things that are outside of where I am. And most of the women in tech endeavors, I guess I'm part of, are very local to me. Like they all happen here. I go to a lot, I go to a lot of women in tech meetings that happen here where, we, like there's a spot for women here, like whether it's
Mhm.
showcasing products they're building or it's things they're doing that's disrupting technology. There's a lot of opportunity here, but to see that beyond just California and the US is kind of amazing. So I enjoyed it. I love talking to you, Shalvi, because I don't talk to designers like this in a setting like this outside. So for me, that was super cool because I'm always talking to people who they are part of product, but they are not like direct designers. So this was very different and fun.
Thank you so much, Nitya. It was really great talking to you.
Thank you, Shalvi. This was awesome.
Thank you, Nitya, for sharing your journey and showing us how thoughtful design can make even the most complex AI systems feel intuitive, trustworthy, and human-centered. Your work is a testament to the power of design in shaping not just the products, but the future of how we interact with the technology. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Why Involve Women in Tech. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, building with empathy, and designing for real impact. Thank you.